Also, these two gentlemen coming up, Travis Walker and Mike Williams with Realize Now, they are also available on Spondoolix. So you want to check out their on-demand content. We actually have the blessing of having them live here today, and their title for their session is Why True Inclusion. True inclusion is the secret sauce for your organization's transformation. Let's welcome Travis and Mike.
Good morning, everyone. First, want to give a shout out to the folks who participated in our affinity conversation. It was a very provocative conversation, and I really appreciate people being courageous and stepping in and leaning into that conversation. So diversity and inclusion are very hot buzzwords right now, probably for the last decade. It seems like every company is looking to figure out how can we engage the underrepresented in our organization in the spirit of having an inclusive environment. But the problem is a lot of these organizations, they miss the mark, and they miss the mark. We are going to talk about why true inclusion is the secret sauce to transforming organizations.
I'm Travis Walker. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Realize Now. We are the growth and learning company. Our focus is to help individuals or companies grow through our growth triangle. Our growth triangle focuses on 3 key areas. So our growth triangle starts with an introduction. So that would be similar to what we're doing today. Then we move, or it actually is, you could see on Spondoolix, our show, Realize Your Potential. So that would be intro into a topic. And then we move into deep dive. Deep dive is going to be similar to the affinity conversation we did yesterday, but in a little bit longer format. So it's going to be a workshop, or it's going to be a virtual training that we offer online. Also, what a lot of you have seen, it'll come in formats of collateral like our growth and learning cards. Thank you for all of the responses on these. It's been really, really great reception. And then the last part of our growth triangle is mastery. And that really comes through one-on-one or small group engagements, or even deeper dives of some of the other things we did in the past, or that we just talked about right now. We want to thank the people who allowed us to film them, put them on the screen. So thank you to the folks that allowed us to do that today. We believe that this stepped approach to learning allows for people to continue to grow in a way that helps them maximize their potential.
I'm Mike Williams. I'm also one of the co-founders. I am the director of ideas. Inclusion is a topic that's near and dear to us, and it's needed as much as any. True change comes from people being uncomfortable, similar to the affinity conversation we facilitated yesterday. It typically works when people are self-reflective. They have an opportunity to reflect on their experiences with people. And you all may be thinking, why us? Doesn't everyone claim to be doing this well? Why us?
We have real business experience. And so we were both vice president and director level employees at some of the biggest brands in the world. You've probably heard of Tesla or Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to take the knowledge we learned as leaders and be able to give that to individuals to help them reach their max potential. Because that's what most of our employees that worked on our team said they enjoyed the most about their experience. But the reality was, at every organization we worked at, we were some of the only employees at our level that looked the way we looked. And so that gave us a really unique experience when talking about diversity and inclusion, because we were able to talk about it not just from an HR perspective, but we were also actually able to talk about all of the dynamics that happen in the field. So imagine this. Some of you are leaders in the room, right? You understand all the complications that come into leadership. You're thinking about, how do I make sure my employees get paid? That should be your number one priority. If it's not, then go back and make it your number one priority, right? So the first thing you should be focusing on is, how do I get my employees paid? How do I make sure they're happy? Then you're also thinking about, how do I generate more revenue and profit for the company, while also trying to meet customers' expectations all at the same time. Now you throw in the wrinkle of sourcing, onboarding, hiring, training, developing. And now someone's telling you, by the way, you've also got to look at diversity and inclusion and how it impacts all of those things we just talked about. That could get a little complicated. And even if you're an individual contributor, what you might find is diversity and inclusion is just as important concepts to understand about you executing your job, but you're just trying to get your daily functions done. But the reality is, if we don't get diversity and inclusion correct at our organizations, we will not maximize our company's potential. Now, I've been on the diversity committees for companies like Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I've been a part of the diversity initiatives at SolarCity and Tesla. I currently lead the onboarding for globally for one of the largest EV manufacturers in the world, EVBox. And the one thing that we were able to identify through all of these interactions was a very simple truth. That instead of diversity and inclusion, DI, it actually should be the other way around. Inclusion and then diversity. Because the identity, big I, big D, for inclusion and diversity, so the identity of a company will be defined by its inclusion and then its diversity, and not the other way around.
And I haven't read every mission, vision, and value statement of your organization, but I would imagine it has a lot to do with making the world, or making a difference in the world, and making the world a better place. And ask yourself an honest question. Can I live my mission statement? Can I live my vision statement? True inclusion is a major factor in living your mission.
So we're going to do an activity. I know you just came out of lunch.
ITIS.
I'm looking at you right now. You're trying to get through the itis, all right? But we're going to turn up a little bit, okay? Can everybody turn up with me? Can I get some energy in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, that was, okay, online. Where's the online camera? I'm sure you guys can turn up over the keyboards better than that. So turn up in the chat right now. This is going to be the first of 3 activities. Now, the first activity is going to be a little light because you guys are just coming out of lunch, and we understood that. But as the activities go on, they're going to need a lot more participation from you, okay? With every activity we do today, we ask one, please be 100% honest. Because the only one that you'd be lying to is yourself, because I really can't see you. I definitely can't see you online, right? So I have no clue, and after this presentation, I won't remember who said what. So please, 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 just be honest, because we're going to talk about some sensitive topics that require honesty, because true growth comes from true, honest answers. Can we all commit to doing that today? Yes. Only half of you?
All right.
Only half of you? The rest of you are like, no, I'm going to lie. Okay, I'm gonna lie because I'm uncomfortable, right? No, we gotta be honest, all right? All right, so here's the first activity. Take out a pencil, piece of paper, or on your phone, take notes. Please don't text. That's just flat out rude, okay? But if you could take out something and take some notes, all right? So the first question I have for you is name 5 employees, teammates, or people at work that you interact with the most. If you aren't at work, use school as an example. So that you interact with, talk to, engage with the most. Write down those 5 names. We good? Everybody got it? We're still writing. You're like, man, I don't even engage with 5 people at work. Like, I just like to be left alone. Like, leave me alone. All right, now, write down 5 names of people that you should be engaging more with at work, but you're not. Oh, somebody laughed. Can't wait to hear that story. 5 people that you should be engaging with more at work, but you are not. All right, now write down 5 people that you just forgot about. Like, oh man, I forgot about James. He didn't come into my purview at all. He didn't fit in either one of those categories. So you just totally blanked on him. Think of 5 people you kind of just forgot about. Okay, I'm gonna ask you a question, series of questions. First question is, what are some of the similarities that you have with the people in that first group? So the people that you talk to the most, you hang out with the most, some of the similarities that you have with those people. Write those down. What's similar? It could be bullet pointed. Please don't paragraph. We don't got that kind of time. Right? Just bullet point. What's similar about you and those people? Okay, the next question is, what is different about you and the other 10 people? So the 5 people that you should be hanging out with more and the 5 people you forgot. What's different about that? What's different from you about those people? In 1 or 2 words, maybe 3, I'll let you have 3. Write down why you feel comfortable with the first group. Why do you feel so comfortable with those people? And lastly, what action are you going to take now? Now you're probably saying, I don't know what action I'm going to take now, right? Don't worry, we're going to reference this activity later, so please keep these notes handy. But see, I told you, the first exercise was easy and low-key, right? All right, we're going to turn up from here, all right?
Now let's get aligned on a few definitions. Diversity is the range of human differences, including but not limited to race, ethnicity, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, social class, physical abilities or attributes, religious or ethical value system, national origin, and political beliefs. Whew.
That's a lot. That's a mouthful.
So this is like at work, you're being invited to a party. You're being invited to a party.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can come and dance. You can get your boogie on, or
you're invited. You can bankhead bounce.
Right?
If you're from my era, that's what we used to do, right?
All right. Inclusion is the participation. Inclusion is usually achieved when diverse populations are involved in decision making that impacts the policies and practices of the organization. So you're invited to the party. Now you're invited to the table to have discussions about some of these decisions that might happen or may not occur. And it's allowing you to then show up and be actionable potentially. Equity requires changing structures of power and privilege. So disparities of historical underrepresented groups are eliminated, and therefore outcomes cannot be predicted by this grouping. This is where we redefine what the party actually looks like. So you're invited to the party, your voice is at the table crafting and giving suggestions, and now those recommendations are being taken on and you see them being implemented potentially.
So there are 3 statements that are the crux of this presentation. You can write them down, take a picture, do whatever you like. Screenshot if you're online, right? And so there's going to be 3 statements, and we're going to go through why those statements are true through this presentation. Now, typically, these 3 statements are actually the linchpin to full day workshops. So we're going to try to squeeze this all in to like 20 minutes, right? But we would go much deeper into these topics if we were workshopping these, right? So the first of those statements is diversity is important. Diversity is important, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because there's a clear business case for diversity. So let's talk about that business case. So McKinsey is the research firm globally. I think most of you have probably heard of McKinsey. If you want to research anything, they research it. All right, and so they did a 5-year study on the impact of diversity in the workplace. And they had 3 different reports. They had a report in 2015, which was called Diversity Matters. They had a report in 2018 called Delivering Through Diversity. And then the last report, which is kind of the crux of what we'll talk about right now, was Diversity Wins. And so what they wanted to show was, is there a clear correlation between financial success of an institution and how diverse they are? And this was underpinned by their biggest data set to date. So they had 15 countries and over 1,000 very large companies. Now, like I said, McKinsey is the research firm globally. So if you think about this being their largest data set to date, you can see how important understanding this correlation was to them. Because they wanted to make sure that whatever their findings were, they were comprehensive and really hard to dispute. And so what they found was there was a correlation between how diverse a company was, specifically at their leadership, and how much revenue they were generating. So in 2015, the gap of revenue created from the top quartile to the bottom quartile, so the best companies versus the worst companies, for gender diversity was actually only a gap of 15%. But by the time, 5 years later, they got to 2020, that gap had risen all the way to 25% more revenue. 25% more revenue was being created by the companies that were more diverse than the companies that were failures in diversity. Now, for ethnic diversity, that number stayed pretty much the same over that 5-year period of time, about 36%, 35% fluctuated in between. But what you could tell was that there was a clear indication that if you were more diverse, you were going to generate more revenue. But they wanted to see if the reverse was true. Is there a penalty for not being diverse? And so what they did was they took the bottom quartile and they compared it to the other 3 quartiles. And what they found was there was a minus 19% revenue deficit for those in gender diversity in the bottom quartile and minus 27% for ethnic and gender diversity. Well, what they were able to show is that companies that are clearly focusing on diversity as an important part of their company, they're leaders in the market. They were creating more innovation. And if you think about it, it's pretty logical thought, right? If you have diverse thought, you're going to have diverse solutions. And so the report showed that diversity wins. Now, the second statement is diversity without inclusion actually doesn't really matter. Okay? I'll repeat that. Inclusion without diversity doesn't really matter. Or diversity without inclusion doesn't really matter. And so that same report actually dug into the impact of inclusion. And what they found was really, really interesting. What they found was, while sentiments on diversity, so they polled all of the employees at these companies, what they found was, even though people had a great sentiment, a positive sentiment about diversity, they had a very negative sentiment about inclusion. Literally, employees on a survey would say, hey, diversity at our company is really great. We're a pretty diverse organization. And on that same survey, they would bash things like favoritism. They would talk about a toxic environment when it came to inclusion. And they would also talk about how inclusion was just flat out not even a part of their company's DNA and culture. So what they said was, companies that are really moving forward in diversity, even those companies were really struggling with the idea of inclusion being an important part of their business. But a Harvard Business Review took that thought even further, and they actually said that companies who are really diverse and spending billions of dollars on thinking about diversity but not thinking about inclusion were actually wasting their money. What they found is, and we talked about this stat yesterday, so some of you already knew this was coming, but 40% of employees in this study were shown to feel excluded at work. 40%. So think about the teammates and employees that you work with could be feeling excluded at work and not even saying anything at that time, which led to all the things that are listed here on the screen. But the one that really sticks out to me is that there was in strong cases of exclusion, actual physical anxiety, pain. And so if you have family members or if you deal with anxiety yourself, you know that pain from anxiety is real. So you could have teammates that you work with that are actually in pain when they come to work. How sad is that? Now, what the study actually showed is the reverse, is that when you felt a sense of belonging, that the business actually performed at a much higher level. Not only did it perform at a much higher level, but individuals were getting more raises, they were getting more promotions, and they were actually promoting the company more. And so in a company of a size of about 10,000, what their analyst figured out was that would be a savings of $52 million. $52 million. Now, some of you know what it's like to go out and hire good talent. It's not easy, right? So imagine if you had to keep replacing talent over and over and over again. You could actually impact your organization for the positive simply by focusing on, how can I create a more inclusive environment for the employees I've already trained, I've already hired, I've already spent all the money on, they actually already know the job function. And I could transform my organization overnight.
The next big idea is inclusion without equity is impossible. You can't have a sense of inclusion without addressing the structure of your company and its policies and practices. A lot of these policies and practices were created under a lens that had the wrong perspective. And though I believe most of these companies didn't intentionally mean to have policies and practices that would lead to their employees feeling excluded, studies show that employees are feeling that way. And we believe it's time to take action. It's time to do an activity.
All right, now this one you guys got to turn up for, all right? Doug, is the chat ready? Are they blowing up? Are they ready to get live?
The chat is ready. The chat is blowing up on
The
me.
chat-
I'm letting them. So,
See, that's what I like to hear.
There are lots
Can
of
you
people
guys
talking right
outperform
now.
the chat is my question. That's what I want to know. Okay, so we're going to play a game. We're going to play Monopoly. Everyone loves Monopoly, right? Now, just like we said, this would actually be a full day workshop, and we would actually workshop this together. So we're going to squeeze this into like 5 minutes. But this activity is actually really deep, and there's a lot that comes out of it, a lot of discussion. And I hope when you leave here today or after this presentation, if you're watching online, that you can start to think about some of the concepts and some of the things that we talk about here, okay? So here we go, all right? So imagine we would take everyone online and everyone in this room, and we would split them up into cohorts of 9. Okay, so 9 people per Monopoly board. And each of those boards would be split up into teams of 3. So there's 3 teams on each board. So we'd have hundreds of boards, right? Online, we'd be split up. You'd be split up like this. Team A is going to be A through H. So if your last name starts with A through H, you're Team A. Can I hear the Team A'ers in the room? Yeah! All right. That's why I love it. I love it. So the Team A'ers are hyped. They're ready to go. Now, here's the Team B'ers, not to be outdone. Team B is last names I through P. If your last name is I through P, let me hear you make some noise. Oh, Team B, I hear you. Now, me and Mike, because our last names are W, we're a Team C'er. So where are my Team C'ers at? Q through Z. Q through Z. Online, are they repping their teams at all?
they are. It's ready. Someone just yelled, woo.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Here we go. All right. So each team can only they will send one representative to the board at a time. So playing at one time will be only 3 people, okay? Now Mike's gonna take us through the rules because the rules are gonna be a little bit different, all right? Now, before we start, which team is gonna win? Online?
Team A is real big right now.
Team A sounds like they're ready to rock and roll. Okay, here we go.
Team A, you play by regular Monopoly rules, which means you collect $200 for pass and go. You start with $1,500. Y'all got this, right? Y'all got this.
Team A, how are you feeling about that? Of course, Team A feels good. Team A feels good.
Team B, you all start with $100 when you pass go. You start the game with $500 and can't buy anything on the street where Boardwalk is.
Oh,
On that street right there.
that one.
In Team C, you start with
I know.
$0.
Oh, pain.
And when you pass go, hold on, when you pass go, you have to give all your money to Team A.
Yikes. Yikes.
It's survival of the fittest, right? It's not all bad.
I quit, right?
There's one more rule. Team A has to pay any rent that Team C lands on to Team B.
See, that's not that,
See, it's not all that bad, Team C.
not that bad, CC,
Not all
right?
that bad.
All right. So, everyone understand the rules? Online, you understand the rules? People are like, yeah. Team A's like, yeah, I understand the rules. All right. So what happens when we workshop this? Everyone sends their person to the board, and you can probably imagine how people feel walking to the board, right? They're like, oh, it's not fair. Right? So you got your team A'ers, they're feeling really good. They're like, great, this is awesome. They're going to be given all this money. They got money to start. They're going to get Team C's money, and they can buy on the most expensive street. So they're really playing the game with a lot of confidence. Now, Team B, typically those people are going to be a little bit more strategic, right? They're going to take their time. They're going to buy property. They're going to try to amass some money. And my Team Cers, well, we're just surviving, like Mike said, right? We're just trying to get around the board. We're just trying to make it around, okay? So we're going to do that for 10 times around the board, all right? So we're going to do 10 times around the board. And then, Mike, what happens there?
Rule change.
Rule change. All right. You guys are getting excited. You're like, okay, give me some rules. Let's hate on Team A, right?
So the players will rotate each team. So the second person in each team will step to the board. They get to keep the money that they've amassed over that time. Team A, the rules don't change. Okay? Team B, you now get to play by the regular Monopoly rules.
Yay.
What I described
Team
initially
B.
with Team A. Team C, you don't have to give your money to Team A anymore. Isn't that great?
Team C, are you excited? Online, are they excited now?
So someone in Team C said they were going to win anyway and was immediately shot down, saying they have no chance.
It's tough.
But Team C, now you also have $100 when you pass go.
You got it. All right, there we go.
You're almost in the game, my friends. You can buy property on every street except the most expensive one.
Can't buy
That one
property
right there.
No. My Team Cers, we can't do that. So now in the activity, we've discussed a couple things, but you know the Team A's typically are starting with a lead, right? Team B's, they're like, all right, I kind of feel like I'm okay. I'm in the game. And you could probably imagine some Team Cers are kind of pouting, right? This is not fair. This game is dumb. I don't want to play anymore. And you know what I say to those people? Mike, you've heard this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Come on, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps, Team C. You'll figure it out, right? You're going to get some money. You'll be okay, right? Not that big of a deal. Not that big of a deal, right, Team Cers? Nah. Here, let's give some positivity to Team C, okay? I don't care what team you're on. We're going to chant for Team C, okay? I want to hear Team C, Team C, Team C, because we don't want them to quit, right? We don't want them to quit. So Team C gets positive. Let's get in the game. Are they chanting for Team C yet? I know we're on a little bit.
They're getting there.
They're getting there. They're getting there. Okay, all right. Oh, you're trying to cheat, huh? You are trying.
Creativity is good.
Change your last name.
I got married and changed my last name.
Okay.
It's now L.
All right. I wish it was that easy. I wish it was that easy. Yeah, I wish it was that easy, right? All right. So then we go around the board. We have some more fun. Mike?
Rule change.
Rule change again. All right. 10 times around the board. Here we go.
The players will rotate on each team, so the third person on each team steps to the board. The money that you brought to the board that you get to keep around those 10 terms. Now it's equal for everyone. Okay? Play on. Play on.
Come on, Team C. Come on, Team C. Why don't you want to play anymore? I mean, it's equal, right? Everyone's got equality, right? It's fair, right? Everyone now has the same rules, right? What are you complaining about?
They lost their privilege. They feel that they lost something, you know? When a team had the privilege before that they can no longer use, they feel like they lost something. But the others, they didn't have that privilege. Finally, they got something that they never had.
Yeah, I love it.
Just
I love it.
saying on the chat right now, Team C just got real mad at your bootstraps comments. And
Did they?
and they just said, C needs money, not encouragement.
Oh, C needs money, not encouragement.
And Team C started from so far behind that even with the rules being equal now, that they are still further behind than Team A, who started off with so much.
Well, one more over there. One more over there. Buzz?
Yes, and in order for Team C to actually be in the game and play Monopoly, they have to be able to start at the same point where Team A was at. So bring them on up to Team A status, and then we've got a fair game.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm curious though, since in the very beginning where Team C had to give up all their money to Team A was paying the rents on behalf of Team C on the Team B properties, correct?
Yeah.
So,
But that was like so many years ago. I mean, slavery was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry.
so,
Slavery was like so long ago, right? I mean, it was like,
well, what I'm curious
20
is
turns
where
ago.
is Team B coming in on their fairness because they were starting out at less than Team A, and I'm a Team A'er, so I'm just curious.
Team B, right? Team B struggling, right? But Team C, my friends, Team C, my teamers, okay? I know that it's tough, but why did you steal that $20 out of the bank? Because, Mike, I saw them, right? You know how Team C people are. They always want to steal to get ahead, you know? They feel like, oh, I don't have any other opportunities, and now it's equal. I mean, why are you so mad? I mean, think about it. There was someone on board 275 from Team C that actually won. So guess what? You can win, right? Because somebody did it before. So don't be so mad. Now, at least you're better than those Team Cers over on board 475, because you know what those folks did? They protested. They rioted. They started tearing up property. They started flipping over boards. Why are they so mad? The rules are equal now, right? Why are they so angry? And Team Bers, somebody's standing up for Team B. I mean, Team B, you've been equal for like almost the whole game, right? So what are you complaining about? Everyone has a fair chance to win now. Or do they?
I had a comment that it's not equal. They're the same now, but they're not equal.
Ah. Now, we would love to be able to dive deeper into this, but like we said, we have a short amount of time. But you can imagine playing this game at a workshop and how it would feel. And sometimes when we do it, a company or school, they might give an actual real prize. And then, you know, people are like killing themselves over a t-shirt. That's not fair. So the question is, imagine what that means when it's more important than a t-shirt.
It's not the fault of the third player on Team A that the rules were unfair and they didn't even have a chance to play, right? And it's easier for them to see the inequity that existed before the play and say, I wouldn't have done that. That's really bad. What do you want me to do about the past? And I would throw the question back at you all. What are you prepped and primed in regards to allowing space for understanding and potential action? And for us, it's not an easy answer. And it's not our job today, like Travis just said, for us to do a deep dive to try to work through those things. But if you want us to, you can reach out to www.realizingnow.com. Just kidding. But seriously, you can't have inclusion without equity.
So let's talk about what gets in the way of inclusion. So here's some of the things that we noticed that gets in the way of inclusion. C-level engagement. So I was actually helping an organization and I'm talking to one of their employees and they were really, really frustrated because the CEO, they were going through major changes and the company wasn't doing as well as they wanted to. So they were replacing a bunch of VPs and C-level employees. And the CEO actually got on a call to all of the employees and said, after taking a whole bunch of white males and replacing those with a whole bunch of new white males, and actually said, he ended the call with saying, now I know diversity and inclusion is really important to us, but we had to make really quick decisions and hire the best people for the job. So we hired who we had to hire. So you could imagine how the people of color and females and anyone that was different than that group felt by that one singular statement. And so that was showing a lack of C-level engagement.
The other thing that gets in the way is lack of mindful communication. I'm sure a lot of us have experienced information coming down from the top of the organization and we're like, ooh, I don't think there were certain people at the table helping to craft that narrative as it came out, right? So mindful communicate or lack of mindful communication.
Organizations not fostering engagement on these type of issues. So it's not, don't act like they don't exist. They do. So the companies that get inclusion correct are companies that aren't afraid to talk about it and what the challenges might be.
The next one is lack of proactive education. So the topics that we're talking about, organizations aren't putting the effort and energy to provide a platform to have these types of conversations.
What else gets in the way is how we celebrate holidays and special functions from different cultures. And so obviously we can't give 365 days off a year, but what we can do is respect and honor different cultures and their holidays.
The next one is, like I mentioned earlier, about not having the right people at the party for the invite, not having folks present to engage in types of conversations when organizations are looking at activities for their staff, right?
Another thing that gets in the way is relationship-based culture versus activity-based culture. And so when you're dealing with employees, are you focusing on building great relationships with your teammates? Or are you focusing on them just doing the activity?
And next is lack of multilingual workforce. If you're serving a threshold language out in the community and those are your customers and you don't have staff that are prepared to sort of have those conversations in their native language, that then becomes a huge issue, right?
Change management that allows for every voice to be listened to. We talked about this a little bit in our breakout yesterday, that do you have a policy or procedures that allow for everyone to have a voice at the table and talk about how they're feeling?
And having a safe space, psychological safety, right? Is there a space in your organization or with your boss or even with your peers to where you can be your most authentic self and be professional, be your most authentic self, right? In regards to things and types of conversations that you want to have, if you may need to nudge a little bit to get something moving in the benefit of the organization or how you serve customers or how it plays out with your peers.
And I'm sure there's so many more than what you see here, right? But one of the things that is really an important question, kind of sum this up, is it a core value? If we kind of bookend the first comment and the last comment, in that organization, the CEO, diversity and inclusion was not a core value of that organization. And so therefore, he couldn't even take advantage of all of the positive impacts that you can have in an organization that we talked about in terms of diversity and inclusion, because he wasn't thinking about it as a core value to what they do.
So you may be thinking about what is some of the root causes to this stuff? You know, what's going on? And our answer to that is bias. And it's a particular tendency, trend, inclination, feeling, or opinion, especially one that is preconceived or unreasoned. We all have them. They come from how we were raised, images that we see in the media, the political affiliation we belong to, the religion we prescribe to. But when bias turns into action, it can be devastating to a culture.
All right, here's our third activity, all right? Now, this one can get kind of crazy, all right? So actually we have to do this one tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the morning. This one can get kind of crazy, all right? The game is you have to answer with the first thing that comes to your mind. And you have to be decisive. So if it's a yes or no question, Doug, would I don't know be an acceptable answer?
No, it would not.
No, it would not. No, it would not. Okay. Thank you, Doug. So beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. Okay. So yes or no? I know it's complicated. The questions we're going to ask are complicated, but I want to know what your first thought is. Is that fair? Everyone understand that rule? Okay. Also, this is a family show. Okay. So please filter it through appropriateness. Please make sure that your comment is appropriate. Be truthful but appropriate. If what you're going to say is inappropriate, Find a different way to say what you're going to say, okay? All right. Now, the way we want you to interact online is we want you to type your responses, okay? You're going to type your responses in the chat, all right? If you're here, you can yell it out. If you feel uncomfortable yelling it out, write it down, say it to yourself. That's totally fine. But I would ask that you keep track of the answers that you said, okay? Because we're going to go back through those answers and answer those questions. Are we okay? Everybody got it? Now, I'll tell you right now, if you try to guess the game or you try to gamify the game or figure it out, you will be wrong. I guarantee you will be wrong. Anyone who tries to, they're always wrong. Just your first answer, and a lot of times it's going to be correct. Got it? All right, here we go. Got it? This side of the room. This side's awake. This side of the room, you guys got it? You guys awake over there? Okay, all right, here we go. Okay, here we go. That chicken I know it's sitting tough right now. I know, it's sitting rough. All right, here we go.
First thought when you see this picture.
Thank you. First thought. Gangsta. All right, what else? Rapper. Okay, anything else? Black man. Okay, what else? Any first thoughts? I couldn't hear you. Frivolous with money. I did hear that. All right, frivolous with money. ATL. Okay, all right. Anyone else? On the chat? It's still loading? All right. Prison. Ooh. Any other thoughts? Pearls. Okay. Anyone else? That's it for first thoughts? Gold teeth. Okay. All right.
Through the chat, we got rough, we got celebrity, we got sport, cool, money.
Okay. I like those. All right.
Does he have a college degree?
Yes or no? Okay, anyone that says yes, say yes right now. Anyone that says no right now, say no. All right, so that was like 50-50.
What about maybe?
Wrong answer. Wrong answer. You already failed the game. It's yes or no. That's really simple. Yes or no. You fail. You have to guess. You have to guess. What is your gut telling you? Yes or no? So yes is one more time. Yes. No's. No. People who aren't playing, just go to sleep. I got you. I feel you. Okay. Online.
We got yeses. Someone's still throwing out maybes as if they don't know what this game is.
This is crazy.
I don't know what that's up to, but we got yeses rolling in right now.
How does this guy make his money?
Music. Side hustle, music, sports, business, clothing. Good ones. Anyone else? Entrepreneur.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a real cool group. All right. I like it. All right.
Has he ever had a run-in with the law?
Yes.
Resounding
Okay,
yes.
let's try this one time. All my yeses. Has he had a run-in with the law? Yes? Who thinks he has not had a run-in with the law? Okay, thank you. All right, because at least you guys are playing the game. Okay.
But was it in a violent way? Okay.
No, bunch of no's. Any yeses to violence? Was it violent? Did he have a run-in with the law that was violent? Oh! I asked, it's just a yes or no question, so you got to say yes or no. It doesn't say, oh, well, can you explain it a little bit more? He's like, no, yes or no. Do you think it was violent in any way? Any yeses? What about the chats?
We got some yeses. We got some capital yeses.
Yeah. Okay.
And someone managed to be able to make the text bigger, and they made a big text yes also.
All right.
And we got a no.
All right. Okay, we got to go.
For some of this is the most important question. Would you let him date your daughter's son, sister, or brother? Why or why not?
Money. Yes or money? Okay, who would let them date their sister, brother, if you controlled that? Let's get all the yeses. Yes. Yes. Who says no? You are right. If you have kids, I have 3 daughters. The answer is always no, right? So that was a trick question. You're wrong. I'm right. No one's good enough for my daughters. I don't care how much money they have. I don't care how cool they are. Doesn't matter. We're going to see if you get that one right later, okay?
All right.
All right.
First thought when you see this picture.
First thought. Wow, somebody said cereal. What's your first thought? Anyone else? Student? I heard student. Ivy League. Valedictorian.
Okay.
Anyone else? What? Class 8? Okay. Oh, Class A, okay. All right.
Okay.
Anyone on the chat yet? Did it come through on that one?
We're still working.
Okay.
We'll start. People are still talking about dating the last guy.
They're like, sure, yeah, absolutely.
Does he have a college degree?
So who thinks he has a college degree? Say yes. Does someone think he does not have a college degree? Say no. No. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
How does he make his money?
Somebody said drugs. Did he sell them to 2 Chainz? Oh yeah, yeah, right. How else does he make his money? Somebody said parents. Any other stuff out there? Stocks, bonds. The first guy's agent. All right. Yep.
Has he ever had a run-in with the law?
For those say yes? No's? No? Okay.
Was it for violence in any way?
Well, if it's a no, then that would be no. Anyone think it's violent running with the law? Who said yes?
Okay.
It's kind of like debating back and forth. People are like, oh, I think I know. Don't try to guess. You might be wrong.
Would you let him date your daughter, son,
No.
or sister, brother?
Yes.
Why not?
That's the most important part of this training. So thank you guys. Thank you for listening. What do we got online?
All right, so people are running in with comments on this guy. A lot of people calling him a nerd, just all the time. Got smart money. He just comes from money. A lot of parents saying he gets his money from his parents.
Yeah.
Someone said he's a work study guy. So,
Work study.
there you go.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
And then lots of no's. Lots of no's.
No, so he's so people don't think he's violent in any way or committed any crimes. Okay, awesome. So mostly no's. All right, let's learn who these two people are.
So as you all know, this is 2 Chainz.
2 Chainz.
He does have a college degree.
Yes, he
Okay.
does.
He did have a minor run-in with the law. His tour bus got pulled over, and they were smoking some green. And but they did find handguns on the bus, but none of them were used. So was this a violent thing? No, but he had a run-in with the law. Outside of rapping, he does have investments. He has endorsement deals with Beats by Dre. What else? He's also partial owner of the College Park Skyhawks. Okay. Would I let him date anyone that I know? Probably not. But I'm under Travis's rules, right? So
He's a good enough guy, though. We all agree he's kind of a
good enough
not
dude.
too bad of a guy, right? Let's talk about this guy. I bet most of you are like, oh, I think I know who this is. His name is Brock Allen Turner. He does not have a college degree. And I'm going to tell you why in a second. How does he make his money? I think he has a job at like a factory or something like that, last report. He has had a run-in with the law, and it was extremely violent. He actually raped a girl on the college campus, on Stanford's campus. She was unconscious. They had to have 2 graduate students actually hold him down until the police came. And guess what he pleaded in court? Not guilty. He pleaded not guilty. He was, of course, convicted of 3 counts. Among other things, one of the things the judge said is we are only going to sentence him to 6 months in jail because we don't want to ruin his life. It's okay for him to ruin someone else's life, but we don't want to ruin his life, right? I'm going to ask a question. If this guy, can't go backwards. If this guy did that, do you think he'd have 6 months in jail? Just a question. Right. Now, the question, from this exercise, right, the idea of bias and how it can be dangerous in the workplace, right? Now, like Mike said earlier, we all have them, but how dangerous can they be when they start to turn into action? And how can we find a way in our organizations to weed out bias and make sure that it isn't impacting our day-to-day actions? Once again, if we had more time, we would definitely dive into that. We don't.
So relating it back to organizations, maybe one thing that we can do is we can dive into the policies, internal and external, in regards to how we serve our community or how our employees have to subscribe to those policies. When we do evaluation, there's 3 things to look at. Are they essential to the function of the job, the policies, company purpose, or customer experience? If they are, is the policy right for potential bias? That's number 2. Number 3, if yes, how can we keep the integrity of the policy and remove it from practice?
Can you say those 3 again, Mike? Because people are writing those down. I see people writing those down.
The first one is, are they essential to the function of the job, company purpose, or customer experience? If they are, is the policy right for potential bias? And if yes, how can we keep the integrity of the policy and remove that of which is not helpful? Okay. And just to give a quick example, if you all are aware of a manager who has an excellent skill set of hiring top-notch performers, evaluate what that person is doing. What competencies are they looking for, right? How can you take those core competencies that this stellar manager is looking for in their hiring practice and see if you can implement that across the board in terms of other managers and their hiring practices? That would be a way of trying to create equity with hiring practices.
Now, based on everything we just talked about, we're going to go back to the first exercise. Okay, so look at your notes. And I'm going to ask that very last question again, based on everything we talked about today. My question is, what action are you going to take now? Not now sitting in the room. But when you get back, what action are you going to take? If that action is different, write down something different. If that action is the same, but what action are you going to take now? Importance is we want to make sure that those actions are intentional. They are intentional. We have to make them intentional, because if we take intentional action, we will get intentional results. And then we will start to unlock the maximum potential of our teams and start to transform our organizations in a whole different way. So now, what are you going to do to improve the identity, big I, big D, of wherever you work or go to school?
Cool. So we want to thank you all. We want to thank FPP for putting on this conference, having us here.
Amazing. Yeah, that's amazing.
We would like for you all to take out your cell phones,
Take out your cell phones.
put it on the camera option, and put it over this big guy, and try to connect with us over social media. We would really love that.
Yep. Pick whichever social media is on there. We've got about 4 or 5 different ones. Whichever one you do, we would love to connect with you. And our TikTok, which we just started.
We don't dance though.
We don't dance though.
We're gonna get there, but we're just not ready yet.
You know,
just not ready yet.
Gangsters don't dance, they boogie. You know what I mean? But our TikTok is the same as our Instagram and everything else, which is Realize Now GLC, Growth and Learning Company. So GLC, Realize Now GLC. Oh, my bad.
And we were hoping to preserve a little bit of time for questions, comments.
But check out our show on Spondulix. Our show is on Spondulix. Season 2 is coming up really, really soon. So please check us out there. If you missed something from an episode, you can go to our YouTube, which is connectable through this. That would be really, really awesome. And also, if you're really interested in learning more about what we do or connecting with us and understanding how we can help your organization, your school district, or even you personally, because we do have one-on-one coaching, please reach out to us at www.realizingnow.com. Or you can scan this barcode, which will take you there. And if you missed either one of those, they're on our business cards and they're also on the flyers out by our table, so you can check them out. If you're here, if you're online, we'll leave this up a little bit more. But to Mike's point, we'd love to get some questions or last minute thoughts before we go. We've got about 3 minutes and 26 seconds to be exact.
Or if anyone's feeling courageous to share an emotion in regards to what you might have experienced, which I know is a big ask.
Anything online, Dave?
Yeah, while they're doing that, there's actually some stuff online a little bit from before. Some people are mentioning, obviously, diversity is good, but saying it from with their work with their clients also, not just the employees and their coworkers, but their clients. So when clients feel included, they're always responding better to the work.
Absolutely. That's a great call out, whoever said that.
Yeah, and then also some good conversations about how to engage with more individuals. And a lot of people are commenting about how they find that they work with each other with similar personalities. And so they see it as a personality thing, but how do you expand beyond that to be able to work with more individuals?
That's awesome.
Sure.
That's awesome. Any other cool comments on there?
Yes.
Anyone in the room? Thoughts? We'd love to hear them. Nothing. It's just mic drop. Like we're just.
All right.
Oh, right here.
I have a question, but before I ask the question, I want to talk about something that was on the news, I think about 2 years ago. It was about the Florida State University hire for the head football coach. I'm a sport person, so everything I say is going to have something that has to do with sport with it. When he got fired, a lot of people were saying that it wasn't a good hire because they were forced to hire someone of color when they had better candidates for the position of head football coach of FSU. Now, without going into the details whether or not they're right, my question is, what do I do as a hiring manager when I have 2-3 candidates and the best one is the white man that everybody is talking about not hiring because I want to give a chance to a person of color that could benefit from that position?
So we've actually we went through this at at Solar City and Tesla of how do we create more diverse candidate pool. So the misconception is that what people of color in this scenario is people of color, but there's also other underrepresented groups. What the misconception is that people of color are looking for a handout. Hey, I want to be hired because I'm black. And that's actually not the case. I've never wanted that. What I wanted was an equal opportunity to go to the table and show what I had and that I wouldn't be judged based on the color of my skin. And so at that interview process, if I was beat out by someone who was white male, that's awesome. But what I didn't want because they were wearing a Stanford sweatshirt that they got an advantage over me because in my time off, I might wear stuff that looks like 2 Chainz, right? And so that's really the important piece is really looking at your hiring practices and are we creating a culture where we can get the absolute best candidates regardless of what race they are? And if the best candidates you always find happen to be white, I'm going to tell you that this is a really big world. And so the fact that the only candidates you find that are white that are good at their job is actually a problem with you. It's not a problem with the candidates. You got to open your mind and open your ideas and where you go find talent so that you can find the best talent possible. And if that person's a white male, hire the white male. But what you should find is you're going to find a white male, you're going to find a white female, you're going to find a black female, you're going to find a Native American. You're going to find a bunch of different people when you open your candidate pool, and that's when your team can take that next step, right? We could talk about it a lot more offline though, because it sounds easy, but it's really not, right? So there's a lot that goes into that.
Right on. I think that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Join the journey. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Step on the blazing up, you would. Catch me out, mashing the station, you know what's good.